Alright, let's just begin this little thing now. Sort of. Well, with the intro bit. Anyway, hello there. Greetings and welcome. I am Karionto, and today we're doing something a bit different. Time for context. So, back in November, sometime mid-November, there was like one of those tier list streams that someone did with like heroes and antagonists and villains and stuff like that. Watch that, and several people had like stuff like lore in them. They talked about it, and like as it went on, gave me the idea. I could do something like this. I want to do something like this as well, but with the things I'm typically comfortable doing more. Not just like a tier list. I don't want to do those myself, but something else. And I figured people have lore. They write their own lore sometimes, which is fascinating and cool and whatnot. I don't have that myself, but what I do have, and I'm gonna allow myself to be a bit confident, arrogant, whatever you want to call it. I'm a pretty good narrator, reader of dramatic stuff, more or less. At least when I've got multiple takes and can edit things afterwards. As we will see and hear in just a short moment. And so in early December, I made this open offer on the Vtuber's Discord server to like basically send me your lore and I'll make a reading video about it and stuff like that. And basically over the course of the next month and a half, some people responded and I got to work and learned a bunch of stuff about how to make videos. And here we are now with the results. Stuff is done now and whatnot. It's all ready to happen. That was a terrible description, I think, but whatever. Anyway, let us begin with... Yes, let us begin with first person, I think. Let's introduce something short, but fun that we can all understand. Let's go with... We'll start with a person who sent it in called Blyghtmare. There we go. Change title there. And their story is relatively short, didn't take too long to make. It's barely 2 minutes here. Was a lot of fun, this one. And let's just watch. Let's take the thing away. And let's listen. So, I will mute myself. And let's hear this. Is everyone ready? I hope you are. Anyway, begin. The story of Blyghtmare. Existence as a lesser demon is many things, but most of all, it's boring. Never truly named, just sitting as a number in some duke's massive army. However, one day, Demon 762 decided to leave the underworld. It was a short excursion, and there he found a wonderful place. Filled to the brim with dice, miniatures, books, and stories. 762 fell in love with games and RPGs. Soon, his excursions increased, hoarding games, books, and miniatures galore. That is, until he was discovered. Fearing being revealed, he stuffed his fellow demon in a cardboard box and tried to hide him. What happened next, he would never have expected. For within the box wasn't a crushed-up demon, but a figurine of the same creature. Soon, the 800-strong legion of demons was gone, turned into toys and figurines. From there, the ascent was quick. Money, knowledge, time! Such things were so boring. What many dukes lacked was fervor, appreciation, a love for games. Thus sits Blyghtmare, Duke of Greed and Lord of Games. Though few ever see him anymore, it has something to do with him collecting VTubers, whatever those are. And that's the story of Blyghtmare. short but sweet. I think this one took the most amount of pilfering through like the credits. Like so many fucking random images I had to find on like Flickr. To just compose this story in that way. Because I got the inspiration for this type from like the internet historian type of videos. Because that felt like the way the story was written, the comedic elements in it just felt the most appropriate to do it that way. I don't know. Anyway, that seemed like the best way to do it like that. And so that's that. There's really not much else to say about it, honestly. I think it was pretty fun. Short but fun. A little thing like that. And let's also just make it public, I suppose. Sure. There we go. Done. Save, and there we go. First one have been made public. Just like that. Simple. And straightforward. God, that's a problem. I don't have much to say about it. The process was just, I mean, it's video editing. You stitch together, find things that are appropriate, look through them, and you put it all together, and it's all that. And there. I don't know what else to say. So, I suppose I shall just move on to the next one. Which will be... Let's go with... The next one we shall listen to. The story of UnderworldClay. Little golem person does things. Alright, actually, I should... Sure, check out Blyghtmare. The demon dude. Or something like that. Check him out. It's all good. And stuff like that. Sure. Seems like a very friendly fellow. Really responsive to like when I like asked for additional things, for like all those poses of him in the video as well. It's really cool. Really, really nice and responsive dude. Cool fellow. Yeah. But then we have UnderworldClay. World Clay. Oops. Let's get everything in all caps. Since I started with all caps, let's continue with all caps. Yes, like we said, a golem dude. This story was a bit more different, a lot more serious in tone. A bit longer, 9 minutes. That's fine. And visually, a lot less for me to do, I decided. This one felt more like it needed to be simpler, because, you know, you'll see. The tone of the story feels like it needed to be something like this. Something like a classic spooky storytelling time. But, yeah, not much else for me to say there. So let's just begin. Let's watch this. Let's listen to this story. This one's far less things to watch. A more listening experience. As is with most things that I do, honestly. That's kind of the point. But anyway, I'll shut up now and let the video speak for itself. Imagine a cool fall evening on a Friday night, just after sunset. The place looks clearly abandoned and lonely. An old, wrought iron fence left hanging open. Long, winding driveway surrounded by lawns that someone has clearly neglected. Huge house at the end of the driveway, well away from the street and any other houses in the area. Secluded. Spooky even. A panel van winds down the driveway, painted a cheerful blue with yellow hand-painted lettering declaring it belonged to the ghost investigators. It stops, and a couple of teenagers get out along with a medium-sized white dog that acts as the group's mascot. Paranormal investigators. Just a couple of young, naive kids trying to do some good. Their group is pretty eclectic looking. Leading the pack is a big, pretty boy jock. Beside him is a blonde girl who looks like she'd fit in with the cheerleaders in any high school in America. A mousy, nerdy-looking boy with glasses pulls out a set of lockpicks as they head toward the front door, and rounding out the group is a hippie-looking girl wearing a tie-dye ankle-length skirt, being followed closely by the dog. The dog is what upset me most. He was a light brown color, probably about 40 pounds, and had a prosthetic front leg that looked like it was very comfortable using. I'm not sure about the breed, Probably some mix of retriever terrier. The dog was well-mannered. They didn't need to keep it on a leash. It just happily followed the dopey group, ready to take on anything and everything that might threaten its family. When they went to pick the lock on the door, it wasn't even locked. Like some cliched cartoon, the front door of the mansion easily swung open, and the group found themselves in a dusty giant foyer lined with hand-painted pictures of people who were long dead. A giant staircase leading to the second floor, and a building full of cliched antiques that no sane person would put in their homes. If all of this sounds too good to be true, of course it was. If you ever stumble across something that sounds like it's straight out of a bad writing trope like this, assume someone's trying to kill you. Because in this case, that's exactly what was happening. The kids couldn't see us, but I was one of the psychopomps there. One of the ferrymen here to collect ghosts when all of it was over. I was mad about it too. I work with the ghosts of technology because I don't like dealing with mortal deaths if I can help it. Normally, I would be sent to collect the ghosts of old stereos and computers, but today I was sent to collect something pretty unique. A high-tech prosthetic leg designed for use by a dog. I was still hoping that only the leg would be hurt. The dog could always get another. But the fact that I wasn't the only spirit there meant to pick up a ghost was not a good sign. Multiple psychopomps usually mean multiple deaths. It wasn't actually time to collect anything yet though, so while the other spirits followed the group around and waited for the inevitable to finally happen, I set to exploring. The main floors were more of the same. Luxurious but neglected bedrooms, dusty sitting rooms, a library. Heck, they even had a hallway filled with full suits of medieval armor. I couldn't find the stairs to the basement, but being a spirit without corporeal body means you can just float through walls if you want. The basement filled in the gaps of the story. The house was a trap set by a group of occultists looking to lure in human sacrifices. I found 2 separate rooms filled with ritual knives and robes, then another filled with preserved body parts that radiated necromantic energies, and another small library, this one filled with books written in Latin, or ones bound in what looked like human skin. And of course, I found a storage room that was filled with large clay statues and covered with occult runes. Someone was trying to make golems. Finally, I found them. There were about 6 occultists in total, split between 2 rooms. The first 4 were in a strange antechamber, chanting around a large pedestal that I guessed was used for human sacrifice. I could only grimace at that and move on. The other 2 were in the next room. It was set up to monitor a huge number of hidden security cameras that were hidden throughout the main floors. It was impressive really, if it wasn't for the fact that it was set up as a trap to lure in people for the cult to kill. As a rule, we psychopomps try not to interfere with death, mostly out of professional courtesy. Everyone and everything dies eventually. Messing with it just tends to put off the inevitable and make more work for your co-workers. But there's no rule against it, and what I overheard the 2 cultists talking about made me angry. They were planning how to grab the investigators upstairs, and how they had to be careful not to kill them in the process, because they needed them alive for the human sacrifices. But not the dog. They had to kill it right away just in case. They were laughing about it too, which for me was the last straw. A few minutes later, as the cultists headed towards the stairs, I struck, my clay fist catching the first in the stomach before I hit the second with a shoulder tackle, the whole encounter taking only seconds, even if it felt like longer. It felt weird to control the golem, but surprisingly easy. Spirits like me don't actually have corporeal forms, so generally moving matter requires either telekinesis or possession. Both are exhausting, if you are even capable of doing it. Turns out that whatever runes and sigils the occultists put on their golems made them really easy to possess. The cult had accidentally given me a corporeal body, and I was about to make it everyone else's problem. The other 4 cultists came running when they heard the noise, but they ignored the clay golem standing in the corner. I think they expected a squad of humans. The idea that one of their own creations had become animated and ambushed them was too unbelievable, I guess. I was having the time of my non-life. I sucker punched the 3rd, and then easily threw the 4th across the room into the 5th. it felt like they were moving in slow motion. Someone tried to hit me with a crowbar. That actually hurt, but I spun around and sent him flying into a wall. I'm not sure which one that was, honestly. They all kind of looked alike to me. I heard a loud bang and felt the chunk of clay fly off my shoulder. It didn't really hurt, but I was kind of fond of this new body, so it did make me mad. I spun around and charged him in a running tackle, knocking the last of the cultists out cold. I guess the sound of the gunshot caught the attention of the ghost investigators upstairs, but it took them some time to find the hidden entrance to the basement, so I had time to finish tying up the cultists and taking away their weapons so they couldn't hurt the kids. Of course, my co-workers weren't so limited and came flying through the walls right away. I can still hear them asking, "What did you do?" The rest is kind of history. I found out later that the kids called the police, and the cultists were all locked up and put in a place the mortals call prison. I don't think I killed any of them. In fact, I hope I didn't, because that would cause even more paperwork for some other poor spirit too. The kids took all the credit for solving the mystery and catching a band of murderers, but I guess when they realized just how dangerous their hobby had become, they decided to quit and open a microbrewery instead. I hope they named it after the dog, but honestly I had my own problems. My co-workers weren't exactly happy with my reasoning that I beat up a bunch of mortals because they laughed about a dog. But I have my limits. It's not like I broke any laws or anything, but I was asked, politely but firmly, to take a vacation for a few years. So, I did. I smuggled out one of the golems in the chaos, and I've been living in the corporeal world ever since. So, that's my story. Saved some lives, beat up a couple of cultists, stole a golem, and got put up on suspension for causing so much paperwork for the other spirits of the underworld. I feel a little bad, I guess, for losing my temper like that, but I would do it again in a heartbeat if it happened again. Alright, and that is UnderworldClay. His story. Thank you for listening. Yeah. More of a classic, what you gonna call it? I mean, it's a Scooby-Doo thing, obviously, but from a different perspective. And with actual ghosts and stuff. Although, modern Scooby-Doo has ghosts and stuff like that, doesn't it? At this point. But anyway, I enjoyed that one. That was a fun little one. Little thing. A more laid back retelling of past event of sorts. Pretty much from first person perspective story like that. So that was different and required a different approach to like the eventual video thing that I made there. But yeah. And again, of course, UnderworldClay, go check them out. They do things. I already kind of forgot who does what, honestly. I've been busy doing other things to fully check it out, but still, sure, they're pretty fun. They reached out to my weird little offer, so that's like points for me. I'm a weird random dude who does things here. And yeah, also very cooperative with everything else. I did, there was a bit of rewriting happening afterwards, because I like to think of myself as a bit of a writer, sort of, but no, not so much, but still. I get irked if I spot like some... Sometimes, anyway, I can be a little bit pedantic for no reason, it's just a thing. But let's move on to the third person who contacted me, Mifune Koneko's lore video thingy. This one was also a slightly different tone of it. Something kind of in between UnderworldClay and Blyghtmare's. Also quite serious. And there's some, yeah, that's me, yes it is. But also a bit of comedic elements here and there. And yeah, I'm just gonna let that happen. I did add a few things from myself here as well. But we'll see. We will see all that in just a second. I need to quiet myself. But anyway, let's prepare. A little story, a retelling, going through the ages. This one was also quite a different one. Anyway, let's observe, and I'll go quiet again. Hey there. Have a seat. Smoke? No? Good call. Tell me, have you heard the story of Mifune Koneko? No? Well, let me tell you. It all starts a lot longer ago than you'd imagine. It was the 1940s, a time of great scientific discovery and experimentation. One particular laboratory, tucked away in the countryside, was home to a groundbreaking project. The lead researcher, Dr. Frank N. Stein, had become obsessed with the idea of creating human-animal hybrids. After years of failed attempts, he finally managed to successfully merge the DNA of a cat and a human. The result was a beautiful but wild creature, a cat girl named Mifune Koneko. She had the agility and senses of a cat, but the intelligence and emotions of an average teen girl. Dr. Frankenstein was in awe of his creation and was determined to understand her capabilities and limits. For years, Mifune was subjected to numerous experiments and tests. She was isolated from the outside world and treated like a lab rat. But, despite the harsh conditions, Mifune's spirit remained unbroken. She longed for freedom and a normal life, but she knew that was impossible. As the years went by, Mifune began to show extraordinary abilities. She could communicate telepathically with other animals, and her physical agility surpassed even the most highly trained acrobats. However, her growth was stunted, and she never aged beyond her teenage years. But, despite her unique nature, she was just a young girl at heart, curious and full of wonder. She spent her days exploring the laboratory where she was created, playing with the various animals kept there for testing, and learning all she could about the world she was a part of. But, as the years went by, the scientists grew old, and their experiments became too risky to continue. Mifune was deemed a failure and was set to be disposed of. Desperate to save her life, she managed to escape the laboratory, unaware of the dangers that awaited her in the outside world. It was the 1950s, and the world was still recovering from the aftermath of the war. People were wary of anything that seemed out of the ordinary, and Mifune's appearance caused quite a stir. She was taken in by a kind old couple who saw her as a curious creature rather than a threat. She eventually embraced various typical activities like attending sock hops, participating in backseat bingos, and being a ravenous fan of Elvis Presley. All hail the king. But fate had other plans for Mifune. As she wandered through the forest near her new home, she came across a beautiful and deadly snake. Mesmerized by its scales and movements, she couldn't resist getting closer. But the creature struck, and Mifune was left to die in the wilderness. For the next few decades, Mifune lived a nomadic life, hiding her true identity and avoiding human contact. However, in the 1970s, her luck ran out when she encountered a vicious bear in the woods. Despite her hiding abilities, she was no match for the powerful animal, and, once again, faced death. Let's be real for a second. Mifune was so high that she tried to hug the bear. Anyway. But death seemed to have a strange fascination with Mifune, for in 2005, she took her final breath yet again, this time at the hands of trunking. A term used to describe the act of being killed by suffocating in the locked trunk of a car. Some said it was her fate, others believed it was simply bad luck. But Mifune's story was far from over. Years went by, and Mifune stayed in the mansion, becoming a legend among the locals. Some claimed to have seen a cat-like girl wandering the woods, while others dismissed it as a mere folktale. But the truth was, Mifune still resided in the abandoned mansion, forever haunted by memories of her past lives. She had learned to embrace her unique existence, and had found a sense of peace in the solitude of the woods. And so, she remains there to this day, a mysterious and enigmatic figure, a reminder of the consequences of tampering with nature. And that's the story. Whether you believe me or not, I'll leave it up to you. Nice chatting with you. I'll see you around. And that is Mifune's story. I like this one. This was a lot of fun. I did get pretty much almost immediately the idea that this was some random American cowboy from like the 1890s telling a story at a bar, and hence the the intro and outro bits that I added there. But yeah, otherwise this one was a lot of fun to work on as well. With everything else like that, changing my voice, trying to do an American accent. I'm not very good at accents, to be honest. I prefer to just leave it at my own natural voice and do tones and stuff like that, but sometimes it feels... I liked it. Well, I'm glad. I did try my best there to do it justice and everything else like that. It can be a little hard sometimes to figure out what video elements to add, because I'm not very experienced with that yet. It really helped that you provided those additional outfits and everything else that really kind of seal the deal with the different eras specifically. I am far more comfortable working with audio though. As you may have heard, the audio quality, I changed it to make it sound like it was from the 40s, 50s, and everything else like that. That was a lot of fun to do as well. But yes, yeah, I think that's about everything I have to say there. It was very lovely. Also, very nice that you were so cooperative as well. Oh, that was loud in the background. But then we have one last thing. SpartanTaco. He's actually the first person to respond and send stuff in. But I left it for last because he also had a full-on comic that he had commissioned an artist to draw. And he gave permission to use it in the video, so it's it became this whole almost epic comic dub narrated thing. It's you know what? I'm not even gonna explain anything more than that, because this is actually kind of pretty epic, I'll be honest. So let's just watch and enjoy. Also, if you are not wearing headphones, I would strongly recommend putting headphones. I put in, honestly, way too much work in the audio on this one. It's probably 3 or 4 hours for a 6-minute video. I was just working on the audio, god. Figuring out everything, the timings and everything else, it took forever. But I think it was worth it. I think this is probably the best work I've done, simply because I had so much to work with as well. But anyway, let us watch this last one and enjoy. I hope... Anyway, I'll be quiet again. The sounds of metal clashing against each other. The scent of blood and iron fills the air. Then, a single sound of flesh being split is heard. A warrior, a Spartan, watches as the sky and birds above him slowly get further away as he falls down the cliff.
I've been slain,
was the last thought of the Spartan.
I wish I could have fought longer.
The Spartan regretted as he crashed into the cold water below. The Spartan sank deeper and deeper into the cold water, surrounded by both his brothers and enemies alike. He closed his eyes for a moment, waiting for death to take him. The Spartan reopened his eyes, only to see that all the bodies in the water had turned to look directly at him. Panic filled him as they began to swim after him. Using all his strength, the Spartan swam to the surface. Soon, he broke out of the water. Pulling himself onto the rocky ground, he now found himself on. The Spartan gasped for air.
Where am I?
Unfamiliar with the area, the Spartan questioned the barren land.
Am I in hell? What have I done to deserve such a fate?
He lamented to himself. The Spartan looked around, trying to get his bearings, then soon looked to the sky and was shocked to see what was above him. A large red eye seemed to rip straight out of the sky itself.
I don't understand what those words are.
The Spartan thought to himself.
What are these voices? I can't hold my mind!
The Spartan despaired, holding his head with one hand, as tattoos, no, brands, seemed to form onto his right arm.
Someone help me!
The Spartan screamed, clutching his head as his eyes turned red and darkness formed within his helm. The darkness started to engulf him, almost as if to consume him. In the darkness around the Spartan, a small ball of light appeared and floated towards him. The Spartan looked up, seeing the light now in front of him changed into a taco and land on the Spartan's shoulder.
Who are you?
The Spartan struggled to even speak.
Don't worry, I'll speak for you.
The taco said as he landed on the Spartan's shoulder.
This isn't hell. We can get out of this. Together.
The Spartan, now able to see in the darkness that surrounded him, pulled himself together, gathering enough resolve to walk out of the darkness, forming a shield in his left hand, then a spear in his right.
No one, no god will chain us. Not in life, nor in death!
The Spartan shouted. The giant eye in the sky ripped open, revealing a large, gaping mouth. Sharp teeth soon turning the maw into a twisted smile. The Spartan stood his ground, unyielding any to the monster. To take this monster down, the Spartan needed absolute resolve. He needed an oath.
Abandon your name. Abandon your home. We are reborn as SpartanTaco, the Unchained Madman.
In one fell strike, takes down the beast. And that was... yes, that was SpartanTacos. As we saw, they were like... yeah. I had a full comic to work with. And like, also a full first-person story, dramatic action. And like, obviously, the voice you heard was also SpartanTaco's voice as well. I got him to voice, you know, his first-person speaking lines as well. So that was great. That added the effect, I believe, far more, because it felt necessary. And yeah, it did take a while to do this. Because this was the first one I started working on. And like I said, I had a full comic, as we saw in the credits, like 30 seconds. Like 30 solid seconds of credits and just the audio files. There's like 40, something like that. It's a fuck ton. Took a while to put it all together. And yeah. Also the additional artwork by the Jogrian. I can't see it there. Hyde, and also wooden line of the other thing for the comic. And like, yeah. This was... I think this was pretty fucking solid and epic, I believe. And yeah. I really liked working on this one. It was a while though. Yes, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. And those are the 4 lore videos that I've made. The ones that have been sent in to me. At least in time for me to actually prepare them for today. The whole thing is still an open offer. People want to send me in and make some. I'll do that. It's a continual thing. I'll do that in like... I'll do another one of these things in late spring, late May, April, May, something like that. And yeah, now I have an actual proper examples of what I mean. Because when I started this, I didn't actually know what I meant when I like put out this offer thingy. But now I have a much better understanding and idea. And hopefully I'll be able to make something more of these. Some pretty cool ones as well, if people are interested in that kind of thing. But that's that. Yeah, I honestly don't really have anything else to add or say here. I think I said everything else. Unless anyone has like stuff they want to themselves here, ask and stuff like that in the chat. If not, then thank you very much for being here and watching along with me and stuff like that. And go check out all the people here. SpartanTaco, Mifune Koneko, UnderworldClay, and Blyghtmare. They're pretty solid people. And all that jazz. And I'm bad at outros. By the way, usually I just say bye-bye and just end the thing. I don't really know what other normal people in the streaming things do. But, yeah, I got nothing else. So if anyone here has anything else they want to put in chat or something like that, then if not, then that will be how it ends as well, as always. And yeah, it did take a while. Thanks for doing these. These are great. Thank you. I was very happy to do these, actually. It was a lot of fun. Learning how to do video editing and everything else is like that. I still don't like doing video editing, but when the result is clear in my head, it's just another task. It's like a job. You do it and it's fine. The result is what matters. I am very satisfied with the result. Could they be done better? Probably. Now, seriously, they are really cool. Thank you. I think so too, honestly. That's why I spent a lot of time on them. Like, all of them had at least like 6 revisions going through. As I made the first draft, watched it, noticed some things that could be better or whatever, and like, I'll redo the thing. Something's not right. And stuff like that. Can be a bit of a stickler for details, which is why things might take some time sometimes. But that is all in the past. That's just part of the process. And yeah, looking forward to doing something like this again in the future, and hopefully other people also come forward and like offer their things to me. I don't even know. I still don't really know what I'm doing, what it is that I am doing, but it's a thing. But yes, thank you very much, and I will see you all later at some point in the future, probably. I don't know. Things will happen. As always, I'm just some guy who does things on the internet, ultimately. But yes, ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.